Boy, that music really gets my toes to tapping. The last video we left off starting to edit our sales page. This is part 2 of how to edit our sales page. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe.
When you actually log into your site, you are going to look for the public HTML file. The public HTML file is the area where you are going to be uploading files for them to be seen on the web. So we're going to go ahead and open up this file. And so we've already got some files there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a subdirectory. I'm going to double click in area, and so now I can upload any files that I need to into this directory, right? And so this will be the directory in which I will be looking to test my installation. Is everybody clear on that? Is everybody with me on that? Right, so now what we need to do is we'll go here to where those files were, and we can do one of two things. All we'll need to do is just drag and drop those files into that directory. And we'll just roll them right in there. And those files are going to upload. And the reason I do this first is because as I'm making changes, I want to be able to see how they're going to look on the web. Right? So I'm gonna start out with these files not having made any changes. I'm just going to upload them because I want to have a starting point. So what I'm going to do is once this is finished, I'm kind of waiting for this to finish here. And while this is updating, what we're going to do is we're just going to head on out to this URL. So I'm going to click this, I'm going to click copy URL to clipboard, and then I'm going to go and look at this site while it's still uploading. Right, yeah, this without the Zilla in my cPanel, but the reason that I don't is, again, mainly just because I like to keep those two areas separate. Mainly if anything happens to a host, and it happens all the time, right? I want to be able to have all my stuff separate. And so cPanel goes sideways. You know, I've had cases where they can't get the backup for 2 days, and I'm without my stuff. If I have it all on FileZilla, I can go to another site. So it's kind of like belt and suspenders, right? Belt and suspenders. Okay, so I'm going to go inside here. And I'm just going to go to this URL. And when I put this, when I put the URL in there, I'm going to need then to take out the public HTML. I'm going to need to take out all of the code from that URL. I'm just going to need to put HTTP // let's see it. Internal server error. I wonder if I have this available. Am I in this site? Oh, you know what? I don't even have this domain name anymore. Let's do this on another site. Okay, we'll do this on. I don't even think I have that domain name anymore. Okay, so let's just create. We will upload those files again. What if you can't see your public HTML? What kind of hosting do you have? Do you have HostGator, and do you have a reseller account? You have Lifetime Hosting. Is that the name of the company? Okay, right. Okay, do you have cPanel? I get that would be my first question. So you can actually log in that way. Okay, great. And then when you log into your cPanel, and you log into your website, what do you see? Do you see a www? Okay, you see www. Okay, and do you see anything that looks like public HTML? Because more than likely, it looks like what's probably going to happen is you might have to use the www directory. But in a case like that, I would call your host because they've got a slightly different configuration. And I would just ask them, used to seeing public HTML, what do you use instead of that, you know, with their lifetime hosting? Because it sounds like they've got a slightly different configuration. It does happen. I think you can just ask them what it is they have. All right, okay, so we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to just get rid of the okay, so here are the files we just uploaded. These are the brain health files. And so we want to be able to do this so we can kind of track our changes, right? So we want to be able to look at our files while we're changing them. And so if we have them in a domain, and we have them in a directory or the directory where they're going to be, now we can make changes to our sales pages and we can watch them and look at them as they're being made. So the first thing we want to do is whenever you're going to make changes to a PLR sales page, the page that you're going to be working with is going to be the index page, right? I think it was Brian that mentioned you could edit this file. You could edit this file in FileZilla. You could edit all of this. I would suggest that maybe you consider editing it on your hard drive so you'll have it backed up, right? But you can, if you're running out of time or you're pressed for time, you can actually do this inside of FileZilla or you can do it inside of Notepad. One of the things that I would suggest that you do is that you save your changes on your hard drive as you make them. And once again, the main reason is that if you ever have to move all of these files onto a new domain, you will have them saved in the same way that they are already on your server. So you want the last change you make to be registered on your hard drive. You want to host it onto your site, and then you want to make sure it's backed up also, right? So all of those things means then that you will never suffer some interruption in your income. The last thing you want is to be out for 3 days or 2 days or whatever days, mainly because of the host or something that's out of your control, right? So now, one thing we're going to do now is we're going to use and we're going to work with the index file. And you're going to find this index.html file, and then you're going to open it up. Now, when I open this file, I'm going to open this file in my HTML editor, right? And whatever your HTML editor is, you want to open it up. In this case, I use Dreamweaver, so I'm going to edit this file in Dreamweaver. So I'm going to open it, right, using that command in Adobe Dreamweaver. Okay, so I'm going to put your question up here. Okay, so it is, we can add folders and files within the public HTML folder, and they will not affect the website already here. That is right. In most cases, you can put a folder inside of the same one that you have a WordPress site in. And as long as you make sure that you self-contain all the changes into a subdirectory, it should be fine. Now, you always want to test it, and you just want to make sure that you don't have anything on your WordPress site that's named the same thing as your directory, and then you're fine. Right? I do that all the time. Okay, and then I'm going to put, see, Roger, let's put that up. Okay, could we just use File Manager of our hosting provider instead of FileZilla? Yes, you could. You could. The thing that I have found with the File Manager is that it's a little less, I wouldn't even say secure, it's a little less sure, because all that's happening when you use the File Manager is you are putting the files up on their server instead of using a medium, right? And so you can track what's happening with FileZilla as it's happening. So in other words, when I upload files to FileZilla, in general, FileZilla will generally tell me if a problem is happening. So for example, let's say that I go here, I create another directory, and let's say I call it test. I call it test. Let's do that again. Okay, it's kind of taking. It's going to take a minute to kind of come to us here. Okay, so test, and I'm going to upload those files same way we just did. And one of the things I want you to kind of take note of here, that I personally have just found to be a little more sure of a process. FileZilla tracks this process for me as it's going, and so in other words, you'll see down here that FileZilla is tracking the process, and it's telling me what happened. It tells me how many files I have left. It's telling me how many successful transfers I have. And so I have found that to be a clear process. If for some reason I need to go back and try to figure out what happened or something didn't happen, FileZilla will tell me in general, okay, this file didn't work. It does that on the File Manager, but not as well, and it's not as visual. So with FileZilla, it's all visual, and you'll be able to look at it and tell what's happening with your files as they're happening. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, yeah, great, Rogerio. All right, so. Okay, so now we've got our HTML file open, our index file, and this is where we're going to make all of our changes. Now, one thing that you're aware of with HTML is that every PLR vendor is different, right? And not every HTML vendor has their HTML done by one person. And because of that, all HTML is differently. And so you can spend a lot of time if you try to change the code in the WYSIWYG editor. How many of you all have ever had that experience where you make changes in the WYSIWYG editor and you try to go back and figure out what happened, and it's almost impossible? So you really want to be careful using the WYSIWYG editor and relying on it. What I would do instead is I would make sure that I can make changes inside of the HTML code, right? So in other words, if I'm going to make changes to the page, I'm going to make those changes here in the code and not here, mainly because it's very easy to do something wrong and to miss something, or to delete something, that is code that shouldn't be deleted, that'll mess up your page, right? So this is why I would say that if you can learn just a little bit of HTML and you can figure out a little bit of what's going on, you're going to be able to change these sales pages really fast, right? So now, let's say that what I want to do is I don't want this warning in here, right? I don't want this warning in here. And so I'm going to highlight that image. When I highlight that image in Dreamweaver, I can see it being highlighted here in the code. Does everybody see that? Does everybody see how I'm doing that? Right, so anything that I highlight here, it's going to highlight in the code. And so this is how you kind of track where you are in the code. Place your cursor in here, and then just make sure that you click it so that this is highlighted so you can find it in the code. Right, so if I want to change this, I'm going to be able to change this in the code by highlighting here, and the code portion will take me down to the page where the code is. So, for example, let's say that I don't like this line, but what if you could get started getting results faster? I'm going to highlight this entire line, but I see it here in the code. And I can see here that it's between two paragraph breaks. Right, so I can make the changes inside of these paragraph breaks. And let's say that, what if you could start getting results faster? Let's say I didn't like that one part. And all I wanted was, what if you could start getting results faster? So I'm going to make the change. I'm going to click back here. And then I'm going to see my page adjust. Right, did everybody see that? So I make the change in the code, and I watch the changes in the page. Right? I track my place on the page by highlighting the text, but I find my place in the code and I make the change. Now, if you really want to know where you are on the page and how it's going to look, you want to be looking back and forth here on your actual domain. All right, let's talk a little bit about images here. Let's talk about images, and let's find an image. Let's find an image that they're working with. Okay, so let's say that I don't like this image. What I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click this image. I'm going to copy the image address. And then I'm going to save this image. Now let's just see where this image is. So that's where the image is online. Right? So now what I want to do is I want to look at the properties of that image. Right? I want to inspect that image. And when I say inspect the image, this will actually show me the size of the image. Right? Does everybody see that? So I can see now that this image is 500 by 500. Right? Does everybody see that? So now I know that if I want to replace that image, what do I have to do? I have to find the image that's what? 500 by 500. Right? If I want it to fit exactly right. And I suggest that when you're making changes on PLR, just try to find an image that's going to be exactly that size. Right? And so at the very least, what you want to do is to find a square image, right? So find a square image. Now, most if not all of us have some subscription to a graphic service. I use Graphic Stock, right? And so let's see that I can say I want, I don't know, I want to put a chart there. And let's see, no, let's say a graph. Graph up. Let's see a graph. Okay, so let's say that what I want to do is I want this image, but I want a square image to the best of my ability. Right, so here's a square image. So I'm going to download this image. And I'm going to have to log in here. Hope I have the right login. I'm going to have to find the image again. I'm going to download this image, and I'm going to download this as I could download it as a PSD. I'm going to download this as a PNG file. So I'm going to open this image up, and I'm going to open this. I'm going to check the dimensions, and the dimensions of this image are 3000 by 3000, right? 3000 pixels by 3000 pixels. So that's too big. Now, one thing I could do is I could put that image as is, and then I could size it down using HTML code. But when you start doing that, what's going to happen is that you're going to have a page with a lot of bloated image, and your site's not going to load as fast, and you do that every time. So to the best of your ability, you want to try to keep the sizes of these images down. And so I'm not going to put an image in there that's going to be 3000 by 3000. I want to put an image in there that's going to be 500 by 500. All I want to do is to make it a little easier on myself. So you can really do this inside of probably the native Microsoft Office or Microsoft Windows. So I'm going to edit this. I'm going to actually, and again, this is free inside of Windows. So you don't really need to have anything fancy to do this. We're going to resize this, and I'm going to resize this to 500. It's going to resize and save it. And there's my smaller image. Right, so now I'm actually going to go, I'm going to grab that image. Let me make sure I know where it is. Check the properties. Okay, so it's in the downloads. All right, so I'm going to grab that image, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload that in the place of the image that's already there. So in this particular case, let's kind of go back and look at this image. This image is called upgrade.png. Right, that's what this image is named. So the easiest way for me to change this image is I'm going to replace that image with a different upgrade.png. Right, so I'm going to rename my image, the one that I just resized, to upgrade.png. So let's do that right now. So I need to find it on my desktop. I'm going to call this, let's see, no, it's saved as a, it's saved as a JPEG. That's not what we want to do. We want to save this as a JPEG, or I'll tell you what we can do is, we can just do this. We can call this upgrade. Now let's the PNG file. We need to go back and do that process again. So let's resize this. And we'll save it to the same directory. And let's see, we want to save this as a different size. We could just use the JPEG. So I'll tell you what, let's just try that. Let's try that. We will then change this to upgrade.jpg. We're going to upload that to our file Zilla. All right, we're going to go to the directory where that is. It's going to be a minute before. Okay, there it is. And we're going to go inside the images. And we see here Then here is upgrade.png, but ours is named JPEG. So we're going to do that same thing. We're going to upload this file to that directory, the images directory. Okay, so upload.jpg is now, but now what we need to do is we're going to need to change this in our page, right? So we're going to need to change the name of this file. So we're going to need to change this now to upgrade.jpg, if that's what we want to do. And if we want it to appear correctly, we're also going to have to make sure that we save it to our hard drive too. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put that file. I'm going to also put that file here. Right, so I'm going to also put it here so it stays saved on my hard drive. But I want to make sure that it's now changed on the page. Now what we need to do, in order to see our changes, we're going to have to then save this index file. Now we're going to have to upload this index file to our FileZilla. So here's the index file. We're now going to replace that, and we're going to re-upload it. FileZilla is going to tell us that we need to overwrite this file, so we're going to click OK. And so now what we can do is we can go and see how it looks. So let's see if our file is here. Okay, so our file is there. And we want to make sure that it appears on the page now. Okay, so there's our image. So, in answer to your question, you can use JPEG. So did everybody understand that process? So we could have done that one of two ways. We could have replaced that with a PNG file and just put a PNG file there, or we could replace it with a JPEG file. Right? Either way, we could do it. Right? Does that make sense, everybody? You understand how to do this, at least how to look at a sales page, and then edit it and upload it. Okay, this is a great question. Okay, so how can we make a transparent background? The way we would make a transparent background would be to use PNG. That's exactly right. So you could use a JPEG, but a JPEG is not going to give you a transparent background. Only the PNG will.
Thanks for watching. This is part 2 of how to edit a sales page. Don't forget to help support this channel by subscribing to this channel and like the video. Don't forget to check out my website here at www.iaminternetmarketing.com. If you want some video training, go to www.learnhowtointernetmarketing.com.